The rain had been falling since the afternoon, soft at first and then slowly turning into a cold, restless storm. The streets were almost empty, washed with reflections of streetlights that trembled in the puddles. Daniel walked alone along the narrow sidewalk, his jacket pulled tight around him, his hands deep in his pockets. He didn't notice the rain anymore, after months of carrying the same heavy silence in his chest. A storm outside felt almost peaceful. 3 years ago, his life had been different. There had been laughter in his small apartment, music playing in the kitchen, someone humming while making coffee in the morning. Her name had been Elena. Even now, the memory of her smile could break him. Daniel stopped under a flickering streetlight and looked at his phone. The screen glowed pale in the darkness. No messages, no calls. He locked it again and slipped it back into his pocket. That had become his habit, checking something he already knew was empty. When Elena died in a car accident 2 years earlier, something inside him had shut down. Friends tried to help. His sister called every week. His co-workers invited him out for drinks. But grief had wrapped itself around his heart like iron chains. He lived quietly now, worked during the day, came home to silence at night. Sometimes he spoke aloud just to hear a human voice. Tonight had been worse than usual. It had been Elena's birthday. Daniel reached his apartment building and climbed the stairs slowly. The hallway smelled faintly of old paint and damp walls. He unlocked his door and stepped inside. The room greeted him with the same stillness it always had. A couch, a small table, a bookshelf filled with novels Elena had once loved. He didn't turn on the lights immediately. Instead, he stood in the darkness listening to the rain tapping against the windows. Then his phone vibrated. The sound was so sudden that his heart jumped. Daniel pulled the phone from his pocket. Unknown number. A message. For a moment he simply stared at the screen. Most people would open it immediately. But Daniel felt a strange hesitation. Finally, he tapped it. The message contained only a single line. "I know you still miss her." Daniel's breath stopped. His fingers tightened around the phone. Another message appeared before he could react. "But she never really left you." His chest filled with a cold, creeping unease. Who would send something like this? His mind raced through possibilities. A cruel joke, a scam, someone who knew about Elena. He typed quickly. "Who is this?" The typing bubble appeared almost instantly. "Someone who wants to help you." Daniel frowned. "Help me with what?" Another pause. "With the truth." A chill moved through him. He sat down slowly on the couch. What truth? Several seconds passed. Then the next message appeared. "The accident wasn't what you think." Daniel's heart pounded. His thoughts scrambled wildly. He remembered the police report, the wrecked car, the rain that night, the drunk driver who crossed the line. The official story had been simple. Too simple. Daniel stared at the message again. "Explain." For nearly a minute there was no reply. Just when he thought the conversation had ended, another message appeared. "Meet me tomorrow." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Where?" "The old bridge by Riverside Park, noon." His pulse raced. "Who are you?" But the reply never came. The phone went silent. Daniel sat there long after midnight, staring at the empty screen. Sleep never came that night. His mind replayed every memory of the accident, every unanswered question, every detail he had tried to bury. By morning, the rain had stopped. The sky looked pale and exhausted. Daniel stood outside Riverside Park with his hands in his coat pockets. The river flowed slowly beneath the bridge, reflecting the gray clouds. Noon arrived. He checked his phone. No new messages. 5 minutes passed. 10. Just when he was about to leave, he heard footsteps behind him. Daniel turned. A young woman stood a few meters away. She looked nervous, her arms wrapped around herself. "You're Daniel," she said quietly. Daniel studied her face. He had never seen her before. "Yes." She took a slow breath. "My name is Mara." "Did you send the messages?" She nodded. Daniel's expression hardened. "Why would you say something like that?" Mara looked toward the river. "Because I was there the night Elena died." The words hit him like a sudden blow. "What?" "I was driving behind her car." Daniel stepped closer. "Then why didn't you ever come forward?" Mara swallowed. "I tried." "What does that mean?" Her eyes filled with guilt. "The police didn't want my statement." Daniel stared at her in disbelief. "That makes no sense." "I know." "Then explain." She hesitated. The driver who hit Elena wasn't drunk. Daniel felt the world tilt. That's impossible.
The report was changed.
Why? Mara looked at him with trembling eyes. Because the man driving that car was the son of a powerful businessman. Daniel's heart pounded violently. You're lying. I wish I were. She pulled something from her bag, a small flash drive. I recorded everything that night. Daniel didn't move. The police told me to forget it, she continued softly. They said I must have been mistaken. And you believed them? For a while. She looked down, but I couldn't forget what I saw. Daniel took the flash drive slowly. His hands shook. What exactly did you see? Mara's voice trembled. The car that hit Elena was speeding. The driver ran a red light. When the police arrived, someone important showed up soon after. Daniel felt anger building inside him. They spoke privately with the officers. And then the story changed. Daniel's chest burned. You kept this for 2 years. I was afraid. Of what? Of what powerful people can do to silence the truth. The wind moved softly across the river. Daniel stared at the flash drive in his palm. His entire world felt unstable. You could be lying, he said quietly. I know. She met his eyes. But if you watch the video, you'll know. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Why come to me now? Mara hesitated. Because guilt doesn't let you breathe forever. Daniel turned toward the river. His reflection trembled in the water. For 2 years he had lived believing Elena's death was a tragic accident. But now doubt was spreading through him like wildfire. Why help me? He asked softly. Mara answered without hesitation. Because someone should have fought for her. Daniel closed his eyes. The words pierced his heart. For so long he had only mourned. He had never questioned, never searched deeper. Maybe grief had made him weak. Or maybe he had been afraid of what he might find. He opened his eyes again. The river kept flowing. Life kept moving. Elena had always believed in fighting for the truth, even when it was painful. Daniel looked back at Mara. Will you stand with me if this becomes dangerous? She nodded slowly. Yes. Daniel placed the flash drive in his pocket. A strange calm settled inside him. For the first time in 2 years, he felt something different than sorrow. Purpose. The path ahead would not be easy. Powerful people protected their secrets fiercely. But something inside Daniel had awakened, and this time he would not run from the truth. That night, as he sat in front of his computer watching the footage on the flash drive, tears filled his eyes, not only from pain, but from the realization that Elena's story had not ended, and neither had his. Sometimes the truth hides in silence, waiting patiently, until someone finally finds the courage to listen.